Last night, Atlanta's most buzzing nightclub became the epicenter of some serious drama when Kirk Frost and young Jock found themselves face-to-face with Lil Scrappy. What started as subtle tension quickly escalated into a confrontation that nearly turned explosive. Picture this. The club was packed wall to wall, the bass reverberating through the crowd's chests. Strobe lights sliced through thick clouds of cologne and perfume as drinks flowed freely. Atlanta's elite, draped in designer fits and flashing iced-out wrists, exuded the effortless confidence that defines the city's legendary nightlife. This was the scene where it all unfolded. Kirk and Jock entered looking sharp as ever, but to those paying close attention, something felt off. Jock's usual laughter carried an odd edge, and Kirk's smile seemed forced. Sitting in their VIP booth, surrounded by their entourage, their gazes kept drifting across the room, toward Lil Scrappy. Meanwhile, in another section of VIP, Scrappy was in his element. Laughing, vibing to the beat, and holding court with his crew, he was the center of attention. Fans and friends constantly stopped by, dapping him up, soaking in his infectious energy. But what most clubgoers didn't notice was the way Kirk and Jock kept exchanging glances, whispering between themselves while throwing sharp looks in Scrappy's direction. Even the waitress picking up their bottle service order sensed the strange tension and hurried off. If Scrappy was aware of the stares, he didn't show it. He moved through the crowd, clinking glasses, greeting people, completely unbothered, or so it seemed. But then, Jock leaned toward Kirk and muttered just loud enough to be heard over the music. "You see what I'm saying?" Kirk nodded slowly, his eyes still locked on Scrappy. "Yeah, I see it." Their history ran deeper than most people in that club understood. They had crossed paths countless times, always maintaining the facade of civility. But beneath the surface, there was tension. Scrappy's rise, his unfiltered honesty, and his growing influence had made him both loved and, to some, a threat. To Kirk and Jock, he represented something they found unsettling, whether it was his confidence, his words, or the power he wielded. The club erupted when the DJ dropped a fresh track, and at that exact moment, Kirk and Jock stood up. Moving deliberately through the dense crowd, they made their way toward Scrappy. As soon as people noticed, a bubble of space formed around them, the air thick with anticipation. Scrappy, mid-conversation with some fans, finally caught sight of them approaching. By then, it was too late to sidestep the encounter. Kirk stopped just feet away, his hands tucked into his pockets. The music seemed to dull in the background. Jock stepped slightly closer. "What's good, fellas?" Scrappy asked casually, but his body tensed. His crew subtly repositioned themselves behind him, ready for anything. Kirk's gaze swept over him before he spoke. "You've been running your mouth. You know exactly what I'm talking about." Scrappy tightened his grip on his drink. "Not sure what you mean." His voice carried its usual confidence, but there was a slight hesitation. He turned briefly toward his crew, their expressions unreadable. Jock closed the distance, his voice laced with challenge. "If you got something to say it." His posture was relaxed, but his eyes burned with unspoken tension. Scrappy's free hand curled into a fist. "Oh yeah? Like what?" He stepped forward, now nearly shoulder to shoulder with Jock. The crowd held its breath. The club's music still blared, but in this corner, the energy had shifted. Onlookers pressed closer, some backing away cautiously, while others braced for the inevitable. Jock fixed his gaze on Scrappy. "You know what this is about. You've been spreading lies, playing both sides. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences?" Scrappy lifted his chin defiantly. "If I've got something to say, I'll say it. But don't come at me with weak accusations." Kirk took out his phone, swiped quickly, and held the screen up. Whatever was on display made Scrappy's jaw tighten. Scrappy scoffed. "Man, so you're gonna show me some messages out of context? That's your proof?" His voice was dismissive, but a flicker of doubt betrayed him. Jock stepped in closer. shoulder to shoulder with Kirk. This isn't out of context. You've been double-dealing, telling one story to others and another to us. Own it now before things go south. Scrappy squared up, his frustration spilling over. You think you can press me in here? I don't know who you think you're dealing with. Kirk suddenly invaded his personal space, lowering his voice to a sharp whisper that cut through the pulsing music. Keep talking. You'll see what happens next. Scrappy didn't flinch. You don't scare me, he shot back, steady despite his rapid pulse. For a split second, the situation was primed to explode. Jock's fist clenched. Scrappy's crew edged forward. Kirk's expression darkened. The air was razor-thin with tension. Then, just in time, a security guard muscled between them. All right, that's enough, he said firmly, laying a hand on Kirk's shoulder. Take it outside or sit down. Kirk kept his glare locked on Scrappy but didn't argue. Jock exhaled, still visibly tense. Scrappy's chest rose and fell as he held his ground. This isn't the place, the guard warned. Either chill or leave. After a long moment, Kirk nodded, slipping his phone back into his pocket. We'll handle this another time. He and Jock turned and walked back toward their VIP section, the weight of unfinished business lingering in the air. Scrappy stood still for a second, his crew encircling him. You good? A friend asked. I'm straight. He took a slow sip of his drink. They're all talk. But even as he said it, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was far from over. All night, Kirk and Jock barely touched their drinks. They weren't here for fun anymore. They were planning, calculating their next move. Word spread fast, and soon the whole club was buzzing. Witnesses exaggerated details, social media blew up, and blurry videos started trending. The hashtags painted Kirk and Jock as aggressors, while Scrappy's name was thrown around as the underdog who stood his ground. Jock scrolled through the comments and smirked. They think we're the bad guys. Kirk exhaled sharply. Then maybe it's time to set the record straight. Scrappy, on the other side of the club, forced a smile as his friend joked about him being crowned the club king. But his eyes flickered back to where Kirk and Jock sat. This ain't over, he muttered. They're just getting started. As the night wound down, Kirk and Jock finally stood to leave. They hadn't spoken much since the confrontation. They didn't need to. The silence between them said everything. Scrappy watched them exit, jaw tight. They think they can just walk away and come back another day? Outside, the cool night air did nothing to dissipate the charged energy. Sliding into their car, Kirk and Jock scrolled through the online reactions. After a long pause, Kirk spoke. You know what we have to do. Jock nodded. No more words were needed. This was just the beginning.